Well, we have now made it and are jumping into the final bracket, the final four of this tournament. But as you saw, there was a nice little video leading into this of showcasing DKO. And if you've been playing DKO, first off, congratulations. It's actually really fun. And second off, maybe you want a chance to show off that skill. You have a buddy that you want to queue up with, and you want to play in something, but you want it to be a little more competitive than just kind of running around into the queues. I've got good news for you. There's a 2v2 tournament. Now, for the most part, this, I think, now only open for North America just because Europe began at this point already. But NA is going to be beginning at 5 p.m. ET. The signups are open. You can scan that QR code. You can see the prizes. First place will get 3,200 runes per player, 1,600 runes per player for second, 800 runes per player for third. I can already think of things like that Thanatos skin that is in the game that I really want to get, but it's conflicting my brain because I really want the Old Man Thor skin that's also in the game.
I have that one.
You have that one. That's the one that I keep eyeing. Unfortunately, I've been so struck by indecision there. And you know what, Trelly? You don't have to be. If you just play in this 2v2 tournament and you place in the top two, you could theoretically get both. Of course, that is all very fun. Make sure you go do that. It's also being run by Jithens, and we like Jithens. So
I know
thumbs
that guy.
up on that one. Yeah, I will give him a lot of credit. He runs a damn good community tournament, and he did it for years in Smite. Now he's at least running today for a DKO. So if you're wanting to join a 2v2, that QR code, pause it, take a clip right now while you still can, and then you can get to it. But make sure you keep this stream open because we're lonely otherwise. And I've got Trelly over here with me. We're going to be doing the Smite tournament. It's not the DKO tournament.
This is different.
Different.
This is Road to Worlds. That was
similar
just for
gods, though.
That is true.
In that all 10 that are in DKO right now, and the next one that was announced, Zeus, are in Smite as well. So that somehow was my segue. And to save me like a life raft, we've got the bracket that we're going into. So we can talk more about that. Again, this is the final four teams that are still alive. The Hounds, the Storm, the Sages, and the Wardens. Winner of match 14 and winner of match 15, both of those are going to be played tomorrow. They are going to be the ones that go to the SWC group stages, join our EU teams, the Ravens and the Mambo, as well as the Warriors, the Titans, the Scarabs, and the Valkyries, in an 8-team bracket to make it to the World Championship. 4 of those teams will continue on, and those 4 will play the Kings, the Leviathans, the Bolts, and the Dragons at the Smite World Championship. But before they get there, Chelly, they've got to win match 11, win match 12, or if they can't win here, win match 13, and then match 15 in order to make it there. A lot of work still to be done. 2 wins gets you in, 2 losses takes you out. And the Sages, after a pretty solid win, although maybe a lengthy win, over the Tanuki, are now in a position to try and take on the number 1 seed in the Hounds.
Yeah, this is going to be an interesting one because I still think the Hounds look unstoppable at the moment, and no one has really been able to knock them off their rhythm, but the Storm, after a game like that, did look pretty clean. So maybe they can ride that rhythm and say, hey, you know, we just came off a very nice 2-0, being the Tanuki, a team that had previously beaten us. Maybe we could come back. But as I said, it just seems like no one is able to upset the Hounds at the moment. They have been so dominant. I think Oath has been having even... This is going to sound funny, but I think Oath has been having a pretty bad performance comparatively to what we usually see from him. But the rest of the team, Ducky has been so on point. Dude Man Bro has been having a fantastic set. And of course, Erupt Crimson has been absolutely popping off through the mid lane. So the entirety of the Hounds are just playing exactly like we know where they're able to.
Yeah, I think that this is a team that, I mean, top to bottom, has just played out of their minds. The Wardens giving them a little bit of trouble, but not so much that maybe anybody, at least on the Hounds themselves, was stressed out. A team that I think even Vinny Q had memed on Twitter saying that he would not be surprised. What was it? He put 4 pictures of himself in front of a chessboard, and it was the AI-generated images of the Valks having to prep to play the Hounds for the umpteenth time this year. And it's something, so they've got a vote of confidence from their former opponents down there in the SCC after a successful-ish year of growth here in the SPL. I'm excited to see what the Valkyries will have to offer, but the Hounds, again, have to make it there. They've been looking good so far. We'll see if they can do it. Speaking of looking good, the Storm just looked pretty solid in this last one. Again, Trelly, it took them a little while to get a full lead in the second game.
Right.
Very even game. And game number 1, it was almost a different story. In game number 1, They were down. Look at the gold here, 30 minutes in. They are dramatically down in terms of that 12,000 gold, and yet it did not stop them from winning that match.
No, it didn't seem like they really cared about the gold. It just seemed like they were going to group up and fight the way they knew how. And this is sort of what I'm talking about. If the Xibalba Storm are going to be able to upset the Eldritch Hounds, it would be off of a win like this, where they were all, playing a little slow early game, but were able to come back from so much. You got to imagine spirits are high, and confidence more specifically in their team is at an all-time high as well. So I imagine that's going to be carrying through pretty heavily here into the game number 1 versus the Hounds. And that's what you need, because if you're going to let the Hounds play their game, they're going to absolutely dominate the map. They're going to play through pretty much every lane, and they're not going to stop W-keying you. So trying to knock them off their rhythm, play your own game, and bring that aggression to them is pretty much the only play you have. I'm hoping that's what we see out of the Storm here today.
Yeah, they're a team that is showcased they are more than capable of taking down opponents that are at least seeded higher than them. And with the way that Dame's been playing, specifically, I think like the jungle matchup in this one's going to be really fun to watch. I think the mid matchup in this one's going to be fun to watch. I think the carry matchup, and pretty much anything this weekend, but specifically from now on in these Final Four, I think that duo lane is going to be a very fun one to watch. And we can see who's going to get the advantage in it. It picks in Bans for game number 1. Storm will be the first pick. Now, Charlie, I want to kind of get your thoughts on this one.
Okay.
The conversation, the Ishtar with the Ram up there, right? Because it was Ishtar and then Kernanos, Cupid, blah, blah, blah. Shove those guys to the side. Ram, I think, is really deserving of some of these top picks.
Yeah, I think InMyZen in particular has been having a fantastic performance on the Rama, so I wouldn't be surprised if they do go to something like that with the Ishtar band, and the Storm have taken away the Cernos as well. Is it first pick status? I wouldn't say so, but maybe the Storm just really want to grab something like that Maui, for example. I think game number 1, Ocean's had a questionable performance, but game number 2, that Maui looked really solid. So no surprise there. First pick for the Storm is just going to be getting Oceans back onto that Maui.
Yeah, and honestly, the Maui, especially in the very last game that we got to watch, right? Game 1 of the last set, maybe not the best Maui that we've gotten to see. Game 2, still maybe not the best Maui that we've gotten to see, but a lot better in terms of play setup and play making potential. But we were wondering, or at least I've been talking about that tier 2, that next step of Hunter, and we've been talking about Zen playing the Ram a lot. Cupid is going to be the lock-in early for the Hounds. Vulcan is going to join that pick, and then the Ram will be locked in going into the Maui, getting a repeat. And if they lock in this Ratatoskr, at least 3 of the 5 that we just saw them play in the last set.
Yeah, and they all looked really good, so I'm totally fine with that. However, giving Crimson Vulcan is kind of scary. I think there's a lot that he's been able to do on this pick, especially if, paired with a very aggressive support, or in this case, jungle, whichever one the Hounds want to grab in this slot. And it looks like they are just going to take the Yemoja pick that Quig can choose to get aggressive on, can set up very well with that River's Rebuke, and it makes a very nice little, I don't know what the shape would be, but it's like a rectangle with a big circle in it. Yeah, Mifflin said something.
He said a parabola, which is not...
No, that's not what I thought he said.
That's not at all what that was.
I'm glad I didn't repeat it. Anyways,
no, I'm
Yemoja
repeating it because I'm very... Oh, you didn't say it confidently.
No,
yeah.
I'm glad I wasn't like, oh yeah, thanks, Miff.
You said a rectangle with a circle.
Yeah, like I'm just saying River's Rebuke, you can hit Vulcan ults off that. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I will say, I think there's a name for that, and it's called a rectangle with a circle in it. I don't think it has a name. It's the Cthulhu band, the Morgan and Tyr and Susano on the other side. Lancelot gets picked up. This is a good-looking draft from the Hounds. I mean, top to bottom, I'm going to plug and play and throw it to with a team that plays Lancelot a lot. I mean, the Kings is what it makes me think of up in the SBL. And, hey, they're your number 1 seed from the Phase 3 playoffs. So you have to imagine it's going to be a feel-good draft there.
This is exciting.
Get the Bologna. You get the Scylla back here for the Storm, Shelly. And we just saw how they can play some of these picks.
Yeah, pretty much everything but the Bologna is just a run back. So I'm assuming feeling pretty strong in the Storm's draft. But if you look on the other side, that Lancelot's going to be pretty scary. And they now have 2 horses. They have doubled their amount of horses. And that's going to be scary regardless, just because there's a lot of carries here that don't appreciate getting dove like that. And you got to hold on to those relics if you are Joshy. It's just so difficult because when you're Scylla and you see a Lancelot, you don't want to use your abilities because you know he's just going to jump over them with the horse. But also, if you don't use them, you just get ran at. So some mind games to be played there. And the Hounds, I think they also got exactly what they wanted here.
Yeah, I think that it's a matchup where everybody is more than happy with the gods they're loading in with. We'll see, though, can the Storm continue their upset and take down the Hounds? Let's find out in Game 1.
Hey, you got to go back-to-back now. The Xibalba Storm with a big win in our set prior, but now going up against the overwhelming #1 seed here in North America, the Eldritch Hounds, is Dolson, Doug, and Mifflin bring you the action for game #1. It's a tall task, Miff. Anyone here in North America to take down the Eldritch Hounds. It's a team that have found success all year long in the North American SCC.
But the Storm are playing with momentum, and you can't take that away from them. An impressive game in their previous set. I am surprised to see Ocean so consistently go towards this Maui, though. And that's not to say that I think Maui is necessarily in a poor spot. I think the gods are really, really good. Just feels like Oceans has been struggling a bit on this pick. I could say that.
That is so BM.
No, I'm
This
boys
god
with this guy.
is good, and yet Oceans.
And yet he is struggling. I mean, legitimately, Oceans is one of the most talented support players in the SCC. He's got a diverse god pool. Generally, those more aggressive picks. I think of the Ymirs. I think of the Athenas. I've seen a whole lot of the Maui. I still haven't thought about it. Not for him. Not yet.
No. But with the talent that Oceans has, one of these days, Miff, it's going to take the game.
Gotta hope for the Storm's sake.
It could be right now. Now, the Storm have made it this far just fine. Remember, we take a breather now, full reset. We're in a new group, double elim. It's no elimination match today or our final match of the day. So a little bit of breathing room for the Xibalba Storm.
Ooh.
It's a little poke damage. Goodness, I think Crimson took more than he had bargained for there out of mid.
Had to be a tower shot.
Yeah, I'm thinking. But the jungle matchup as well, Biff, here becomes very, very unique because Oath heralded as the next man up into the SPL should a jungle spot open. Has been talked about already this year, but has chosen to stick with this Hounds team. And Dame has been playing a dangerous brand of Smite and actually pulls the Aegis, and it is an Aegis selection off of Oath. So a slight win to Dame in the early jungle matchup.
Yeah, I think that it is going to be a tumultuous matchup, to be sure, for the entirety of the set. Dame in particular, ever since the first set of the weekend, has been playing incredibly well, just aggressive picks across the board. Generally does take a bit of time to get started. Dame doesn't really gank pre-6, not too often. Once he ticks over to 6, gets access to that ultimate, heads back to base, finishes up that item. Then Dame generally starts to pick up his own pace, whereas Oath, I feel like the second he walks out of base the first time, Oath is looking for action. He's looking for the smoke, and he wants it anywhere on the map that he can find it.
Yep.
So we'll be keeping our eyes on them. As far as God trajectory is concerned, feels to me like both are probably reliant on ticking over to level 5. Ratatoskr certainly has some opportunities, like that opportunity to kill Quig had Oceans landed that jump. Doesn't this time around. I'm waiting on first back from Dame. I'm waiting on level 5 from Oath. Otherwise, a bit slow from the jungle pace.
Why the
But-
Aegis pick?
Why the Aegis pickup?
Yeah.
I don't know, he's scared of damage. There's like a, it's like a crush over there. There's an I'm a
Is that what
monster
you
you're
think?
concerned
You
about.
think mid lane you're worried about?
I mean, there's a whole lot of burst potential. I'm not Aegising just about anything besides those two abilities, unless, you know, if you're already like 5 HP, I guess you'll probably use your Aegis. But as far as individual pickups to force out the Aegis, I'm not absolutely certain why Oath has gone towards it. If I'm him, I'm thinking about Blink.
But might be level 12 if he wants to go back to the blink. Could lean itself to maybe being a jungle heading mid-centric pick. If Oath wants to hang around the mid lane a little bit more often, he feels a bit more under threat from that Scylla. Might end up making his way mid a bit more often now that he's got that Aegis shrug off. Just a bit more of that damage. And the Eldritch Hounds have loved playing through Oath. But also Crimson has been rock solid for this Eldritch Hounds team here this week. And Joshy was pivotal just now in the win for the Xibalba Storm. And though Zen is low, a hook from Oceans will force the dash away from Dude Man Bro, who is also a win condition for this Eldritch Hounds team. It is a very difficult squad to beat because it feels like all over the map they have the potential to beat you in any of these lanes. Now Oath over on the left side, and swing already used by Oceans.
Oath?
Still galloping through. And chooses not to go in, despite some of the mobility being down from Oceans. Will actually head back and away. He had his ult ready, just kept it in the back pocket.
Yeah, I mean, his dual lane hasn't ticked over to 5 just yet. Might be the entirety of the decision-making
Okay.
Joshy? Dog? That was an unforced error, and to keep in line with chess terminology, blunder. A massive blunder from Joshy.
Is that chess terminology?
My man has blundered.
Is that only in chess?
That is a critical error. In fact, I don't.
Yeah, right.
I wouldn't be able to tell you if that was mechanics. Maybe he couldn't figure out where he wanted Sentinel to go. It could have been decision making. Thought he wasn't going to get hit again. Could have been a lot of things, but it was certainly a blunder.
It was certainly a blunder. I never played chess, so I don't know what that word means. But
Actually,
no, I know what word blunder means.
it's a chess thing.
It is a chess thing. I was in chess club in elementary school, so I'm aligned with a bit of the lingo. I made many blunders back in the day.
I'm sure.
We'll say that. But that did give Crimson a nice advantage over in mid. Was 2 levels just a second ago. But now just the 1 level lead. And maybe Oath, with that Aegis, felt a bit more confident. Rotating into mid if the I'm a Monster was there, which it wasn't because Joshy had used it just a second beforehand on the mid lane Harpies. Didn't have the CC immunity or the damage to potentially flip that around. Increases the heat maybe for Dame here a bit, Miff. On this Ratatoskr, you know you don't have beads against Oath, or you know Oath doesn't have beads against you on the Ratatoskr. Quig also without beads. Ducky a potential option. There's some choices on the map for the Rat.
Yeah, but Ducky's already got Breastplate of Valor, and
Sure
he's
does.
Guan Yu plus healing, so don't necessarily want to go there. Quig, Shell, Yamoja, support player in general, not exactly an easy pickup for the Rat. You want to pick up on gods that don't have multiple escapes, and Yamoja, if she's got the Omi, has got plenty to deal with. Slows or stuns.
That's a River's Rebuke from Quig. It's because Oath is here, and the game's starting to get taken over by the Lancelot, and this is simple. For the Eldritch Hounds and their jungler, call it a killing spree. In the first 6.5 minutes, 3-0 for Oath. And my goodness, the pace has been set, the gauntlet has been thrown down. And Oath picks it up happily. Dame trying to match the pace. Won't be able to. That's an ult towards Solo, and Ducky gallops away.
I wish there was more of Oath's play for me to deep dive, but legitimately has just been handed 3 kills. The first one walks up on Joshy, who had decided PvE was real important. Was wrong, because PvP was on the way. Second and third kill, Zen rolls into tower line, gets walled in by Quig. I mean, Oath shows up and presses 1 once.
More
finds
blunders.
the kill there. I mean, just lots of blunders on map right now. Maybe an opportunity to right the ship a bit. Good pull.
Good pull, but Dude Man Bro's got beads in the dash. Yeah, I mean, right, it's difficult now for Dame. Ocean's potential to set up for his team, but the Maui will fall just a bit short here over on the left side of the map. Though you do get the beads off of Dude Man Bro, so if Dame gets the ult back, Miff, maybe an opportunity to dunk on top of Cupid. But having to head back to base gives a little reset time. And I just think this is the way that Oath and the Hounds like to play. It is
Handed kills for the first 7 minutes.
Yeah, yes.
Me
I
too.
think so.
Same.
Right, who doesn't? But I mean playing through Oath, who likes to be hyper aggressive, and I think it's just hard for teams to match every once in a while. And now he's off to a really good start, Miff. Tier 2 Hydras in the back pocket. Should be a decent little power spike.
Should be. Ocean's leap forward. Stun's no good. Quick. Should be able to make his way out of there. Oath is essentially just the strongest man on the map right now. There's not many fights that he loses in the 1v1. The only one I would even generally be concerned about might be Delnyyy, but how often is Oath going to be lining up against Delnyyy? Until Gold Fury gets pulled out, probably won't be the case. Grouping on the left-hand side, both junglers posturing. Could be a massive fight here. Keep your eyes on the Grand Joust.
I mean, you're still favoring the Eldritch Hounds for sure.
It's time to disengage.
Yeah,
Bye.
Through the Cosmos goes up. See you later, says Oath, and the rest of the Eldritch Hounds. It's pretty telegraphed there, as the eyes of the Hounds made their way to the Ratatoskr. And Oath just stuck around. Now jousts through, and up in the air goes Ram. But the chase continuing on to Oceans. The target selection potentially really smart here. You can get the kill onto Zen on the back end anyway. I'm a Monster. Gets the first kill of the game for the Xibalba Storm. But Oath still has something to say about this fight, but is silenced right at the end by a Sentinel away from Joshy. So the Hounds dropped aggro on the Ram, picked up Oceans, and then ended up going back to get the kill.
I love the aggression. I love the call from Oath to swing back around and go for the fight, realizing Dame can't counter gank me. His ult's down. Just an easy fight, but I had no idea that Grand Joust went through wall. Did you know about that? He straight up went through the... Oh, wait, it was his own teammate. It was his own teammate. Okay.
I was letting you get there.
Oh, thank God.
I was letting you get there.
Bro, I was so lost.
That would have been game eye-opening
man.
moments. It was a better. I'm glad you found your way there because I was gonna be real sassy towards you.
No, you wouldn't have. You would have been really
Other than like his
understanding.
own wall, yes.
Okay, all right.
That wasn't. No, I guess I wouldn't have been hyper.
Dude,
sus, but
my heart dropped. I was like, was that a bug?
you're like, oh no, do I have to gloss over it? Am I allowed to talk about it? No, it's all good. It was intended, and Oath made it work in duo. Does attempt to gank Delnyyy over in solo, and Eagles rally away. Means some safety for the Xibalba Storm solo laner, but getting forced out of lane just after you used the teleport a few moments ago. You know, as you start to watch the Eldritch Hounds and them building up some momentum in this game, not an easy team to stop, especially 3,500 experience ahead is really the big number now. You start to look at their style of play and really question, not in a bad way, in a good way, what they're going to be able to get done over the next month or so should they make it to the group stages. Another clean objective pull for the Hounds, but the Xibalba Storm on Oracles is going to pick up the Gold Fury, and DameNWK close by. He has made steals happen in the past. Can he out-confirm an I'm a Monster, a Sick'em, and a Crush? Xibalba Storm get the Fury, but Oceans dies in the meantime. Through the Cosmos, yeah, should be defensive from Dame here. That's a roll of the dice for DameNWK. Dies for a second time this game, but at least able to take one with him.
Yeah, stepping up early there. Doesn't even attempt to steal. He's just trying to force Xibalba Storm off the objective. But the pull timing, so clean from Oceans. Joshy gets the collat on the objective as well as DMB. So, unfortunate circumstance. DMB, the only thing he could have done differently to prevent that is just pre-beads, drop Fields of Love, beads, make sure that Maui ultimate doesn't connect. And then perhaps it's a little bit more interesting. Could have even prevented Josh feeling confident in his ability to just slam the ultimate into the objective. But regardless, the Eldritch Hounds, having created so much separation on map, through the Pyromancer, through fights on the left, that even with Gold Fury going to the Storm, it's not really that much of a jump. Gold was never the issue, so having it level at about 900, not a big deal. Doesn't really change your power spikes going forward. It's more so about the experience, and they've maintained that 3K lead.
Yeah, Crimson's been a farming machine, remains that way. 670 XP per minute. Keep that level gap nice and wide. Oath back over towards duo. Zen, early beads usage. That's a River's Rebuke for the beads. You tend to take an ultimate for beads when you can. But Myth, it's been overwhelming duo lane presence here from Oath. Potentially sensing that that's just the side of the map that he can get the most kills on.
Yeah, shutting down a Bellona, not easy, and not a whole lot of reason to camp her either. Bellona's going to be able to hold her own regardless, so leave Ducky on an island, have him farm up, rotate into the team fight, and just hedge your bets to the Guan Yu is going to bring a little bit more to the 5-on-5. That healing, that initiation, incredibly powerful, whereas Delnyyy, for the most part, can limit DMB, but that's about it. Can close gap on a Crimson, so long as that peel isn't there, and maybe make it a bit more difficult for this Vulcan to operate, but if the Eldritch Hounds think that Ducky's going to do more, I tend to agree, just based on picks and matchups. Xibalba Storm, I think, and Dame in particular, have got to really focus on dealing with Oath. At this point, the Lancelot has been a part of too many of these kills. A lot of the damage is rolling through him as well. And some of these power spikes are just too strong.
My God, Joshy's got to use the Aegis. I'm a Monster was up on the other side. And it's an Earthshaker from Erupt Crimson. You know, I'm really not sure in moments like that what you can really do. I mean, Oath gallops forward. He's clearly got the damage. He waits out the Aegis. And Crimson's just on point. It's the pace that's now been set by the Eldritch Hounds. Unfortunately for the Hounds, unfortunately for the Storm, the Fury is already gone. But what that does build up, Myth, now a 2-level lead, and it's going to grow even more for Erupt Crimson over in mid. 3-man rotation right. Keeps my brain wondering. Far too early in the game for an FG. But it's these small little farm steals that'll end up adding up and giving the Eldritch Hounds their big advantage. Gotta hand it to Dame, though. XP-wise, despite Oath affecting 6 of the 7 kills, Dame has at least been able to keep pace. And how about a 1v1 in duo? Ults are dropped. Oh, the Aegis was out. Well, maybe smart because Dame is here. Aegis used by DameNWK, and Dame strikes gold for the first time this game.
That was a cool guys don't look at explosions moment. DMB said checkmate and then dipped out. Unfortunate. Not quite the case. Zen holds onto the Aegis for the perfect timing.
I wonder if he dashed because he thought Dame was going to be there. Or do you think he had the last bit of damage to finish the kill? I'm wondering
he
if
thought
that was
for sure, he thought 100% that he had the kill.
Right.
Because the alternative being, okay, I need to dash out because Dame is nearby. What did that accomplish you? You died regardless
anyway, right.
and lost your relic. So if DMB were playing for the optimal route, it's grab that kill. All right, I'm dead. Understood. I at least got my 1v1. I grabbed the wave. And you could even hold on to your relics in a situation like that. Xibalba Storm, though, and Dame, I'd said it earlier, need to see more from him, need to see him involved on the map, try and match pace with Oath a bit. That's one way to do it. Try and shut down DMB and give over a lead to someone on the map. If your mid laner's struggling, at least now your ADC, 2 levels up, should be able to hold his own.
That's right. Bit of a stimulus check handed over to InMyZen. Couple levels of lead and nice little bit of extra gold there as well. Now, the Eldritch Hounds still in a very comfortable spot, especially around this next Fury. The Pyromancer and the Fury are going to be up around the same time. And so, you're still looking for these teams to set the pace and draw the line early before these objectives spawn. Oath was over in duo a lot early. It's still Aegis down on Joshy. I mean, if you really want to fight prior to one of these objectives dropping, could potentially happen in mid, but do you think the Hounds are in a point here, Myth, where they're okay taking Pyro for Fury trade again, or you think this Primal Fury a bit more important this time around?
Fury always going to be more important. Anytime you're given the opportunity to go Fury or the Pyro, go Fury. Eldritch Hounds take Pyro for free. Xibalba Storm, they're playing slow here with the dual lane entirely here. I'm not sure you can just do it.
Well, the Hounds have slowed down the Fury. River's Rebuke up, and Primal Fury taken by the Xibalba Storm yet again. It's the I'm a Monster that gets it done. Up in the air is Dame. He'll crash down and finish off the kill on a Dude Man Bro, but Oath begins his fight with the kill onto Joshy. Oh, this is difficult now for Oceans and InMyZen. A tower dive is coming, and the tower dive is swift. Ducky and Oath and the rest of the Hounds are here. Oceans survives a bit longer, but it's a rampage for Oath. It ends up being a 3-for-1, though the Storm do get the Fury.
But the Hounds get the Pyro, so team fight as it is. Hounds come out as your big winners there. Gold Fury pool just a bit too slow. Once Eldritch Hounds have given you the sound cue of Pyromancer falling.
Definitely worth it.
Yeah,
It was
definitely
anyway.
worth it. But once you realize that sound cue's down and 2 people are staring at you, you got to know the rest of the Hounds are on the way. Xibalba Storm, stick around and say, look, if we reset, we lose the Fury, we don't win the team fight from an even state because it isn't an even state. Eldritch Hounds had the lead going into that engagement. So say, all right, let's grab the Fury, let's try our best to disengage. And power to them to have the combo between Oceans and Joshy, not only to secure, but to drop immense damage into DMB. Rinse, repeat, second verse, same as the first, but it was an overcommitment, I think. It's not just Oceans and Joshy who have to drop the rolls to finish off DMB. It's also Dame and Zen, who channel all of their attention and all of their time into securing the kill onto the Eldritch Hounds ADC. And from there, how do you disengage? Not once Ducky's made his way over, not once Oath is there with all that movement speed. The chase down for the Hounds is clean, as is the gold lead and the experience.
You know, it feels bad for the Storm now, Myth, is just what you said there. And it's that what was an overwhelming lead for InMyZen is now shrunk down to just the 1 level, and everyone else
9K?
on the Eldritch Hounds have really pulled ahead. Because, I mean, if you look, it's now gone up about 6,000 because you got 3 in mid, you got 3 in support, a couple in jungle. It all looks good for the Eldritch Hounds here, and yet the Storm choose to fight. It's because Oath has got to disengage at the beginning. This is different from what we've seen so far. Dame still takes the ult in, but the River's Rebuke forces Delnyyy to Eagles rally away. That'll give the Eldritch Hounds a bit of breathing room. And so that initial damage myth connecting onto Oath ultimately makes a big difference there and maybe saves the fight for the Storm.
Yeah, if Oath is allowed to stick around in the fight, there's no way Storm can stick around themselves. But it's every single one of their ultimates from the Xibalba Storm, and the Eldritch Hounds don't need to respect any sort of play on the opposite side of the map, so instead, pressure a tower, potentially even push into a tier 2 since you've got the Trebuchet here. And Xibalba Storm will be forced to rotate in for defense. Oceans of Delnyyy, posturing as if they believe there could be a siege coming, but not the case. Instead, a reset back to neutral, head back to base, grab yourself some pretty significant power spikes. Caduceus finished up for Ducky, means that he's going to have an easier time sticking around in the next engagement. Spirit Road for Quig means even with him only having let's call it 3 items, the starter finished. Yeah, well, if you apply CC, he's just going to be incredibly tanky with all those mitigations. Don't love this, though, from Crimson. That's incredibly risky. Just walking up to the tier 2 tower on his own. But with his teammates nearby, what's the concern? Turret for zone instead of burn. Well, yeah, they're confident.
I was about to ask, you know, you're talking about stepping up and defending if you're the Storm. Where do you draw the line? Apparently they know this is going on, and the Storm instead are going to let the Fire Giant at 20 minutes exactly go to the Eldritch Hounds. We're considering, it looks like, Dame and Zen both a Phoenix Siege. But now the Eldritch Hounds with Fire Giant shoving down the tier 2 tower on right as well. Confidence is right here, Myth. That Fire Giant goes easily. I wonder if the Storm going to be a bit slowed down on their retreat here. This should be a pretty quiet tier 2 siege for the Eldritch Hounds. It is indeed. Really not that much gold to go back and spend up for the Xibalba Storm here. 1,000 or so for the members of the Eldritch Hounds. So not these massive power spikes. Probably smart to stick around over on the right side of the map. But ultimately the call that we got to look at, Myth, is the Storm not stepping up to the Fire Giant and choosing to open up the map instead.
Yeah, I like this as well. If you're not finishing like an entire item on this back, you might as well farm until you are. So strong already are Eldritch Hounds and so much time to play with this Fire Giant. Grab a few towers, stay out of base, grab the Gold Fury as well. Generally, we'll see teams head back with Fire Giant, and the enemy will just do whatever they can, scrounge up what farm they can on the map. Gold Fury, generally that immediate answer.
Do you wish you saw a step up from the Storm around the Fire Giant? A steal attempt, anything like that? Or
I would have preferred if they were in position, but considering 2 members on left, you would have had to go back to base, then get to fire. I don't think they could have. Would I have preferred it? Yes. Ideal world, but got to play with what you've been dealt, and this time Xibalba Storm, they're dealt, or dealing with rather, just farming up. Grab both towers on left now, tier 2 on right as well, and with just enough time to make it back to base, and the Eldritch Hound's not necessarily grouped up either. I don't even think you need to worry about your Phoenix here. So long as you can show face, Hounds will likely back up.
You would think, but there is a whole lot of meat left on that Fire Giant timer. Plenty of time for the Eldritch Hounds to complete their dive. And we know one thing about the Hounds. They are a team who will happily step forward, and they will dive you underneath your Phoenixes the moment they find those openings. It's also going to be difficult now because you talked about who's 1v1ing Oath, things like that. Now we are officially at decision-making time. Oath is going to be over here in mid. Dame, for the time being, is mirroring this Lancelot. Don't think he'll be winning that fight on his own. It's actually a 2v1 over in mid. You can tell the Xibalba Storm a bit wishy-washy on their answer. Half the health of the mid lane Phoenix about to be missing as Ducky and Oath continue to do damage. It's an easy 2v2 for the Eldritch Hounds. Up to the sky goes Dame. He'll get out of the fight, but there's been a kill elsewhere on the map for the Eldritch Hounds as well. Suddenly Delnyyy, the last over in mid, in the mid lane Phoenix soon to fall, you would think. But not enough damage. Delnyyy no good on the stun, and Quig separates us out. Thanks to the River's Rebuke and a dash away from the Bologna. Tanky, albeit behind a bit in this game, gives the Eldritch Hounds their opening in mid, and that should be the Phoenix.
Mid Phoenix down and left Phoenix exposed. DMB left alone with it. Will be able to take out that bird. Delnyy's ultimate in that fight, just so aggressive. I suppose the rest of the team was rotating in behind him, but incredibly dangerous. If there was just a little bit more damage from Oath, if there was just a little bit faster of a rotation from the Hounds, Quig locking him down with the River's Rebuke likely would have cost Xibalba Storm their soul laner. Instead, it only cost them 2 of their Phoenixes. Oops, I guess. Back up, grab Gold Fury, spend your gold,
That doesn't sound
get
like
ready for the fire. What's up?
That's a big only.
Yeah,
only
only
two
two
of their
Phoenixes.
Phoenixes.
Well, it's only the left and mid Phoenix at that. You know, only those 2.
Right, couldn't
Oh, and maybe Zen's life.
be much worse than that. But Zen will live. So it's only the left and the mid Phoenix for now. Xibalba Storm, I will say, have maximized what they're able to get on the map in the meantime. Got a tier 2 on left at the beginning of the Fire Giant, a tier 2 on right before they went back. Pyromancer now, so if there are resets necessary, you'll get back to the FG a bit quicker. And the buff officially drops off, and the Eldritch Hounds leave their first Fire Giant power play about 10,000 gold ahead, Myth. Fully realized, fully on the map. And this is a clean team as far as finishing out games. You're putting them in the driver's seat from here on out.
It's going to sound mean, what I'm about to say, and I want you to realize that it is a legitimate compliment. Xibalba Storm are very good at losing. In some of these really tough situations, like around the Fire Giant, They grab tier 2 on left,
Yeah, you need
tier
to
1 and
qualify
tier
that
2.
statement.
While the Eldritch Hounds are setting up for their Phoenix Siege on left, Xibalba Storm are able to push out on right, grab tier 1 and tier 2. Now 2 lanes exposed, and it's long odds, but if Xibalba Storm are able to win out on a team fight cleanly, this late in the game, especially around the Fire Giant, you might be able to just barrel it down, run it down, and win. They've exposed some win conditions, some avenues for themselves. That's to say, you're still in a pretty poor position. A good skill to have, but one that you'd rather not be forced to exercise. Eldritch Hounds exercising their ability and their weight to just push into this right side.
They are very good at losing, does sound mean.
It does.
Maybe they are very good at playing from a losing state and giving themselves opportunities to win.
Yeah, okay. I mean, if you're trying to hit the word limit on your essay, I guess.
I'm real good at that. Double spaced, bigger font.
On the
all of it.
periods, all up like
That's
3
right.
fonts. Yeah,
That's
or
right,
3.
increase them. The Eldritch Hounds, they keep their essay pretty quick here. They'll drop the Fire Giant back, spend up. And this time they do have enough gold to go back and complete some of those important items. Staff of Mirrodin for Erupt Crimson, so expect some of these Earthshakers to start off the fights, Myth. Relic situation actually pretty good for the Storm, but only a couple Aegises, both the carries. So if Crim can really be on point, and Quig, I think, looks really good with the River's Rebuke so far this game. Whatever shape the desk was talking about.
Yeah, parabola.
Yeah, those have been working out, it feels like. Funneling them in and the rest of the team knocking them down.
Yeah, my heart goes out to support players in general. Imagine being 4 levels up, your team's cruising at 10K, and you still can't even get 5 items deep into your build. Had to spend it all on these wards and these relics, but the team have benefited for it. And now,
yeah, top end wards for sure. That's
certainly.
big plays from Quig.
Yeah, honestly, Ocean's keeping close with 16.
Oh, 17.
17?
And you know those extra few wards are they're the big 120.
Oh, yeah.
They're the beefy
Oh,
ones.
for sure.
So it's a lot of extra investment into wards for sure. This is trouble for Dame, though. Blinks away from Oath.
I can't believe that worked.
Oh, it sure did.
Blinked right next to him.
And away he goes. And actually, Oath is going to be in this fight later if the Xibalba Storm were going to force one. But no, Oath will rejoin just fine. Worth mentioning, left and mid Phoenix about to respawn. Eldritch Hounds fighting on the right side of the map. The fire minions should be able to just re-drop the Phoenixes. Dame clearly can't defend up against Oath right now. This Earthshaker no good, so that's one of the fight win conditions that the Eldritch Hounds are now missing. But the River's Rebuke, this one's good again, and that's separated out all of the Eldritch Hounds away from the Xibalba Storm. But Dame has got to leave. He doesn't have Through the Cosmos anymore. And Oath arrives from behind the Storm. Dude Man Bro can get it done all on his own just as well. You need a massive crush at this point in the game, but Oath won't let it happen. A double kill on the Lancelot. And that'll be a game 1 over the Eldritch Hounds.
So maybe let's get Oath off the Lancelot. Looked a bit too good there. Xibalba Storm were able to get into Eldritch Hound's backline. Dame dives in, Delnyy's in there as well. The damage output just not there with them. So with Ducky zoning out Joshy the entire time, who's going to follow up? Nobody. You have to keep that fight a little bit closer to your side of the map, as close as your own Phoenix line or as close as your fountain, I suppose, in situations like that as you can. Xibalba Storm, though, always an earnest team, very eager to get involved. We're willing to chase out, but maybe not the best call.
I don't know where you're banning. I mean, what can you... So now you ban the Lancelot.
That's one.
But Oath has got probably a Daji in the back
he's got
pocket.
a Daji,
That's pretty scary. His Pele has been pretty good in the past.
Yikes.
You spending 3 bans on Oath if you're the Xibalba Storm?
If everyone in the SPL is willing to spend 5 bans on genetics, I think we can ban out a jungler, yeah.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Oath is scary good at setting the pace for this game and really set a lot of it over in the duo lane early on. Eventually it got to a point, though, where, yes, Oath was just sort of riding in, but the rest of the Eldritch Hounds, the carry specifically, were in such a strong spot. You feel for Dame at points because actually the Ratatoskr just trying to keep pace early in this game, Myth, but when the gauntlet is thrown down in the way it was, that feels like just a great jungle performance from Oath.
I agree. I mean, if you want to take it all the way back to the start of the game,
That's a long way. Well,
handed
that was a
3
pretty quick game.
kills
Yeah,
in like
right.
the first 2 minutes, so Dame really had his work cut out for him. Essentially loads in from behind.
Yeah.
Not ideal.
Yeah, not ideal, but ideal for the Hounds and their fans. The #1 North American SCC team, they draw first blood here in this best of 3. See if they can go back-to-back in Game 2 up next.
Well, the Hounds find themselves a win in game number 1. And Trelly, there's a good few things to highlight here, but I can think of one, and that's Oath.
Yeah.
Just period. I mean,
Yeah.
it feels like there's, again, a lot to talk about, but maybe a little overshadowed by the jungle here for the Hounds.
Yeah, I'm thinking that here's the issue, because I know that Mifflin called for a possible ban to the Lancelot, and that's a good idea, but he's also been pretty much just one-tricking
Really good on the
Susanoo.
Susanoo,
Yeah,
yeah.
so it's like, well, you're going to ban both of them, and then you're leaving so much else available. Crimson, top damage in the game with the Vulcan pretty much throughout the entirety of that set, so it's not as simple as just picking Oath and saying you can't play Lancelot anymore, but I do agree that would maybe slow a bit of that early aggression that he's been able to find.
It like puts the what, horse blinders on maybe, or at least pumps the brakes.
Yeah.
It does something to just stop him, because man, like you said, that, and then you pair it with Crimson doing so well. It feels like there is just not a whole lot you can do about that one. Didn't see the full count at the very end of the game. I know they go into the Titan room 12-4 though, so I have to imagine it was like 15-4 by the very end.
That's where Miff said he didn't know that Lancelot could go through walls.
Yeah, and I'm glad you're having fun with it.
I mean, I just had to bring it up. Anyways,
Sorry, no, yeah, I just had to bring it up.
yep.
Anyways,
Yep, good gameplay there from the Hounds, and I'm thinking the double horse composition with Ducky and Oath just diving the back line has found so much success. It just seemed like there wasn't many answers, and I do agree with the casters we're talking about. With Dame was able to find some early aggression as well in the Ratatoskr, but it just didn't seem like the rest of the team really was able to get online. It didn't look too good, so I'm thinking there's some changes to be made in the picks and bans, but you also have to you got to come out swinging. It's pretty clear that if the Storm is not winning like 5-10 minutes into the game, they're late. It's gonna be looking real rough.
I do feel bad for Dude Man Bro. And partially it's because in a column of goose eggs, he's the only one with a death, but also because all of the kills that the Storm were able to get were onto that Cupid. Luckily, it didn't necessarily matter. Still 3 and 6 in terms of kills and assists. And then with the rest of the team being able to pop off as hard as they did, ends up working pretty well for them. Plus, still puts up about 10,000 damage. Not a crazy amount, but in comparison to what the Storm put out, right up there. In terms of the damage numbers. So the question falls down to the Storm, right? You had mentioned it, we were talking about it going into that outside of the Bologna. 4/5 of that team was exactly what they had played in the last set that got them to this point, that got them into the top 4. Do you go back to that? Do you address it as, oh, well, so you know what, maybe we just stop Oath and then we get the rest of this draft back? Or is there a lot more that needs to change to get that ball rolling?
I'm thinking for the Storm, you want to play your own game, and you don't want to, adhere to what the Hounds are doing too much, but you also have to knock the Hounds off their rhythm, so I'm saying put some bans towards, Oath, put some bans towards Crimson, whatever that is.
Elbow
and
the
then,
jukebox.
Yeah, and then just a little...
Because then it'll skip a beat. And
Exactly,
they'll be off
that'll change the rhythm. I agree. I saw
Exactly.
that.
See, there we go. That's some sort of metaphor. And there we can get to picks and bans for game number 2 here. The Hounds will be first picked this time around. If you are forced to ban a Lancelot, you're looking at a pretty dramatic shift in my eyes in this entire phase, because
Right.
all of a sudden the Hounds get to pick anything. I mean, and we've seen some Ymirs up there. We've seen Ishtar up there a lot lately. I think that they honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if they just locked into Susanoo super early on, just considering what Oath has been playing. Like, there's a lot that goes well for them. So far, it's Hades, it's Thor, it's Athena, Trelly, so, and maybe hints of jungle. But if you go Thor, Ishtar, can you afford a Lancelot ban, or do you just let Oath play whatever he wants?
It seems like the call is to let Oath play whatever he wants, and I think that's unfortunately the choice you have to make, but the Storm can make some adaptations. If they assume that Lancelot is coming, they can draft some, obstructions to try and make sure the Lancelot can't actually run you down. You could go for some early pressure. I think the Rat is about as much early pressure as Dame likes to go to. Maybe, the Pele. I think ignoring the Lancelot could be the call, just saying, hey, there's no way I'm going to fight with him, so if I see him on left, I'm going right. If I see him ganking duo, I'm ganking solo, those sort of things. But eventually you're going to have to deal with it. In this case, it looks like the Storm is going to focus on their duo lane, and once again, going towards that Maui and the Rama combo.
And, I mean, a good duo lane, as we've seen, it can work out well. Unfortunately for them so far, you're getting maybe the better duo lane, just literally by proof of game number 1. You get the Vulcan, who was top damage, you get the Cupid, and the Emoja, who, while the Cupid died 4 times, were still very impactful in that game. So maybe some question marks that are going to get thrown their way. They do take away the tier this time around, strip that away from Ducky and give it over to Delnyyy. But will it be enough, Trelly? I mean, that's a good, decent amount of setup still. But it is going to need some good backline to make sure it can find the amount of damage necessary.
Well, at least the Storm can ban the double horses. They can. Well, I guess they can choose between Guan and Lance or Guan and Susanoo, and it looks in this case they're going to ban the Guan and Susanoo. So Oath can still grab that Lancelot if he wants. And I don't see a problem with it, especially into a draft like this. Tier isn't going to care too much. There's an idea. Grab it for yourselves. And that takes away both characters. So the Storm have made that adaptation. I think that's actually a really good call. They're able to make sure they take that away and grab the Lancelot. But I see the Shiva hover, and I see an Erlong Shen. And I see a Shiva lock. And that's interesting.
Now, how do you feel about this? How does very therapy-esque, Trelly? How does that make you feel?
Confused, but also I imagine it's for Ducky in the jungle. I mean, Ducky in
the jungle.
Ducky in solo. And he's got to have a reason for it. It's got good dive. It has good survivability. The ult loses a lot of value late game, but early on, you should be just fine.
God.
And a Persephone, I'm going to be honest, Shiva does not care about Persephone like ever. I mean, he just blinks in, forces the jump, then starts dancing. And it's like, what are you going to do, ult him? He's dancing. He doesn't care about your ult at all. That's just immediately what came to my mind. Is that seems like a really easy character to dive.
Very easy to dive. Maybe actually playing into his hand a little bit there. I also like, even though she's been played once so far this week, caught off guard. Nobody's been playing Persephone for a while. We'll see. It's 2 picks that are a little uncommon. But can the Hounds close this out in 2? We'll find out with Dave and Mifflin.
Well, with the way game 1 went, you're certainly favoring the Hounds here going into game number 2. And the Xibalba Storm have a lot of turnaround to go. Now, Miff, the desk eyeing some very interesting picks here in drafts and
Which
picks
ones?
and bans. Shiva, I think. What?
No, I'm just fun. I was having fun. Charlie keeps touching my chair.
Oh, you can't be doing that. It's a very sacred location for you to be sitting here in the chair 2 spot.
That's right.
There's some true greats.
Great men have been here.
Some greats have sat there before.
Anatoly.
Agra. And some greats could sit there if they would break down exactly what happens here in the solo lane. We've seen Shiva.
Are you offering my job to the fans at home?
I'm offering you some greatness if you'd break down the Shiva over in the solo lane and what it might bring to this matchup.
Well, I'm glad you asked, Dave, because I actually have strong opinions on Shiva.
Good. I want to hear 'em.
I think playing Shiva is tantamount to playing on hard mode. I think playing Shiva is goofy.
Why?
Post level 10.
Why?
Pre-level 10, Shiva's... Hey, let a guy get there. Pre-level 10...
I'm nervous you won't.
Shiva is one of the most fun gods to play in the game. He's got phenomenal self-sustain from the ultimate, which is essentially just a better version of meditation. He has crazy displacement, very strong wave clear. His second ability gives him an attack speed stem and just straight up damage that is about on par with any standard damage ability you'll see from the warrior tab. Look at that, look how quick he's attacking. All of that, it's amazing. He's gonna get every totem of coup pre-10. He's gonna control every single blue buff. If he gets a rotation, he can control the enemy blue buff as well. Post 10, now you gotta start using your ultimate for damage. It's incredibly slow. It does about the same damage as other ultimates, but it takes longer to do it, so it's a DPS loss generally when you decide to go down that route. His dash, the block stacks, the damage from that, a bit lackluster in the late game, so you're not exactly allowed to just sit there and channel it. All of the damage output that he has in the early falls off incredibly hard because his scaling and his numbers aren't as high as some of these other more damage-centric selections. So, when you see Shiva, expect the action to revolve around that Shiva very early. Ducky could absolutely find a solo kill, rotate through around the map, and make his stamp known. But if this goes to level 20, as solo laners so often do, and they don't rotate out, or waits till level 20 to rotate out, I should say, this Shiva is just going to get outscaled in the late.
Now I want you to set the same expectations, Smith. Quig will rip Tide away. levels 1 through 10, and 10 through 20 for the lane opponent, the tier. What do you think of the power curve of Delnyyy here in this lane? Are you offering different expectations from the tier?
I think
from the
tier.
Shiva?
I mean, tier is weaker than Shiva in the early, but
Okay.
not weak whatsoever. Late game, better. I already said that.
You did. You're
Yeah.
talking about the Shiva.
Yeah, in relative to Ducky or Delnyyy on the tier.
Okay. You think the tier is going to have an easy time finding the backline this game, or are there aspects of the Hounds draft that you think will limit them?
Well, no cripples on the side of the Hounds, so
So it could be an easy
not
game
so
for Delnyyy.
concerned about the Fearless getting canceled out. The only thing that could really make it difficult is if Quig is on point with River's Rebuke, and he has been so far this set.
There is a Fields of Love.
Oh, there is a Fields of Love, you're right. If you're using that on tier, who is likely to be building Wingblade regardless, I'm thinking Downey's all right with it.
Okay. So Delnyyy could have some opportunities then to find the backline. Now, I do think you got to look at the jungle matchup in this one, Myth, because of the way that game number 1 went. Oath really, really ran things on that Lancelot in game 1. So Dame was going to get Lancelot this game. But so often we talk about Erlang Shen and having to have an impact because later in the game, if you don't get anything done by the mid game, Erlang Shen
Yeah,
just
run
feels
back that Shiva talk, but Erlang.
Okay, so where are some areas on the map you think that this Erlang Shen can get things going?
Mid.
You think mid is maybe a good option? I think Crimson and Oath agree. That's a great spot to put your aggression and a great spot to find first blood, but Dame is over in mid. Oath
Should
is
be
going to
okay.
get the heal here in just a moment. Grand Joust, no good. Oath lives, and it's a clean and easy first blood for the Hounds.
Maybe not the most beneficial placement of those kills. You really want that Erlang Shen grabbing that first blood for himself. Just get back to base, finish up your Crusher, get that attack speed rolling, but having it land on your Vulcan, I mean, nobody's too upset about that.
No.
Get those stacks rolling a bit earlier as well. Ultimate straight in the duo. Should be the end, unless Zen?
Zen dodging, and now he's in the minion wave. And Dude Man Bro needed one more, but won't grab it. As Quig and Dude Man Bro, they're able to funnel some aggression themselves. Life may just be easy here for Oath if the rest of the lanes continue to control things in the way that they are. Delnyyy will take the ultimate from Ducky, but had a Lawbringer, so not under that much pressure. And so mid was the early answer for Oath. Got the beads off of Joshy, could be return gank potential. It looks like duo lane Myth between healing from Yamoja and Cupid and pressure in that lane. Quig and Dude Man Bro are just fine.
Yeah, don't imagine Oceans tries to stick around in this lane for too long. That 2v2 is just one you're not favored in. Every
that?
small battle that happens is just going to favor the Eldritch Hounds so long as it doesn't result in a kill. Grab your kill, you're feeling just fine, but poke like that, inconsequential. DMB can heal himself back up, and if he's too lazy to do it himself, Quig will do it with some auto attacks just for free. So have Oceans rotate out, maybe try and lock down Crimson. That's a much easier target. The displacement for Maui, very strong up against gods like Vulcan. Whereas on the other side, I mean, if Quig's nearby, Riptide just makes everybody incredibly mobile, a bit more difficult for Maui to find his value there. But playing through mid is a difficult call to make for the Storm by nature of your mid laner. The other clean pick, or interesting pick rather, that the desk had brought up is this Persephone. Real strong in the late, not so strong in the early.
Oath wanting to fight over in solo as well. That'll be a 9 turns blessing, but Fearless away. Suppose I shouldn't be all that surprised that Oath just walks forward, sends out the ult, and sees what can get going. Yeah, I think worth sinking our teeth into the Persephone a bit. Myth might not get the chance though. Oath nearly finds a solo on a Dame who's quick on the ult away. Delnyyy still has Lawbringer, so a kill might be hard-pressed to find. But you're talking about maybe finding some pressure. Ducky, still pre-level 10. You set the stage wonderfully, Myth. And now Oath over here for a potential blue buff invade. Delnyy's going to have the support of Oceans, but Crimson also here. Clean for Ducky. Opens up a small advantage on the right side of the map. Both maintain their ults. And you're seeing where the Hounds want to funnel just a bit of their pressure.
I mean, I do not envy anybody that has to line up against Shiva and Erlang together. That is a very potent wombo combo, especially considering what Oath had accomplished just before that attempted blue buff invade. Force Dame back to base. All of a sudden, you know, worst case scenario, 3 versus 2. Dame from base, though, has an easy path here.
Dude Man Bro takes a couple snipes. Oh no, Dame hasn't finished off the damage. The heal's just out of reach. I'm not sure Would have made much of a difference anyway. Xibalba Storm find their first kill at the 7:15 mark. And it's Day making their way towards left. So Bede's still held by Dude Man Bro, at least a small win. But remember, use that Fields of Love just a moment prior. And so some of that safety a bit limited over on the left side of the map. And a fantastic now answer back from Dame. Now over in solo Myth, we've talked plenty about the Shiva and just the lane matchup in general. The build path potentially interesting for Ducky here as well. We have not seen Soul Eater get built on anyone, it feels like, over the last couple of months or so. Still a pretty decent stat stick and maybe helps Ducky control the lane a bit better.
Give you some ability lifesteal so you can stick around in that back line a little bit longer, match the sustain that Delnyyy has inherent into the kit. If it were anyone but Tyr, it's a much more difficult matchup, but because Tyr has got so much sustain by maxing out that power cleave, just makes it really difficult for Ducky to leverage that insane poke that Shiva is afforded throughout the early portions of this game. And now a CDR for Delnyyy as well. That sustain will be there a bit more constantly. That physical defense stack will be mitigated a bit by Soul Eater, which has got some penetration on it, but not enough that I think Delnyyy is overly concerned about it. You're through the rough patch now. This tier is going to start scaling a little bit
level
faster.
9. Level 10 is so important though, man. We're still level 9. Okay, now we're at level 10, so we're on easy street. Ducky just ticks over to level 10. So we're on the back end of that level 1 through 10 mark that we had set. We are going to start to get towards minute 10 here, Myth. Oath just going to farm up some of the back camps. Was wondering if he might try to find a gank on a Delnyyy, but instead Dame is just going to lose the entire right side of his jungle on his way back. Speed buff spawns, but Oath not attempting to make that work. Instead, we'll head mid, blinks forward, taunts in Joshy, who's got the beads ready, and the pin just too early. But good pressure there from Oath. I am wondering, Myth, so now we're about to get to minute 10. You're going to have a Gold Fury up. You're going to have a Pyromancer up. What areas of the map, what roles are you looking at to give these teams their advantage headed in to these next big neutral objectives?
The Hounds could choose either. It's not really a, hey, are we stronger on this side of the map or the other? It's Crimson and Oath together have got so much DPS between the two that Gold Fury and Pyromancer would be very easy to knock down. Whereas, unfortunately for Xibalba Storm, I don't think they could just walk down the Pyro. It really is required to have Zen involved for DPS. Joshy on this Persephone, not exactly the best god in the game at generating damage on neutral objectives. Dame can do it a bit, but until he finishes up that second item, assuming it's a Crusher, if he's going to match what Oath had gone for in the previous game, then that DPS comes a little bit more. It's that attack speed that's so important on that item that would allow Dame to put some pressure and threat onto the objectives. Otherwise, yeah, I'm not certain that Xibalba Storm going to be looking towards either pre-team fight. Find a pick, you can do anything.
Purple buff invade for the Xibalba Storm, but Oath is here. Dame on off, face plants the joust against the wall. Oath will scurry forward and clean up that kill simply to swing away by Oceans. Joshy rotating in from mid as well. Believe this will be a stun. Didn't matter either way because there was a taunt waiting. Oh no, Oceans actually will escape. Unless Oath has the chase down, the movement speed, fantastic. Pin, simply not enough, and the snipes force Oath to back away from the engagement. Not enough opening, though. Oh no, I lied. Crimson on a rotation out of mid. Has Earthshaker as well. Joshy in a terrible spot. It's a zoning ult and a double kill for Crimson. Couldn't have gone much worse there for the Xibalba Storm. They've lost a few over on right.
Man, Crim
Left.
just waits.
That's the left side of the map.
Yeah. And in the future, when you throw up your hands, if you make an L, the one that's facing the right way is the left. Gold Fury pulled out.
You know plenty of things about L, Smith. Go on.
Okay. I thought we were boys. Okay.
You're going to BM me and then I'm going to answer back?
Me BMing you is
said
giving
in
you
future
advice?
reference, if you hold up your hand.
Giving you some advice to avoid embarrassing yourself on air?
I broke my left arm when I was a little kid.
So you can't make an L with your hands?
No, that arm tingles a bit now, and that's how I know which side.
When it's raining, yeah, I get it.
That's right. I know that a tornado is coming because my bones creak on the left side of my body. Crim's in some trouble. His bones creak, and his Dame has caught out the overextension. I think we do have to look back at what happened there, though, Myth. I mean, Xibalba Storm send pressure to purple, and it all goes sideways from there, and the Hounds answer nicely.
Yeah, I think Crim essentially deserved that death, considering the approach he took to the fight was, oh, the fight's going well on the left, I won't rotate, and I'll push 3 waves, then get involved, which is why he had a 3-level lead just before he died. gets credit for 2 of the kills, and then finally rotates back in a bit over-aggressive as Joshy just sends it into the wall.
That is unfortunate for Joshy. Not only a bad ult, but a death on the other side. That's what you expect from an Erlang Shen. He picks up Stone Cutting Sword. Oath does as well. A bit more scrappy now early in this game. It has been a forgettable first few moments, Myth, from this Persephone at 0-3. I'm not sure what your take is on Persephone from behind, but Joshy's got a steep hill to climb.
No.
Dame caught in the River's Rebuke, and Crimson erupts the jungler
Nice.
as Oceans just hangs around in mid, and now he should get out. The unfortunate reality, Myth, is this game, albeit only 5,000 experience and 3,000 gold, it's got the feeling like it's starting to go sideways for the Xibalba Storm. They've simply not been able to get much going.
Yeah, I mean, look at where the experience leads lie for the Eldritch Hounds. Just that 3 levels in mid. So stifling. Vulcan does not fall off, doesn't necessarily have the strongest early game either, so just expediting that process in the late will make it so much easier. Delnyyy could keep it interesting.
Could. Doesn't. The Pyromancer gets taken by Ducky.
He gone.
We'll send out the ultimate, and Delnyyy will disengage just fine. Probably got a feel for Delnyyy too. I mean, had a very, very difficult lane matchup, kept within 1 level, while the rest of the map just gets run at by the rest of the Eldritch Hounds. I mean, you're already, God, we're 14 minutes in. Simply too early, you'd think, for a Fire Giant, but the type of lead that the Eldritch Hounds have, expect more to flow through this Erlang Shen. When I get nervous about Erlang, it's when early games like this do not happen. It's the opposite. When Oath is going into the mid game even behind, where it slightly feels awkward. I think Crusher, Stone Cutting Sword, and then something in that Balance Blade tree Myth puts Oath in a really nice spot.
Yeah, I wonder. It could be Executioner and will be for Oath, so not only is he going to benefit from that passive, but so will Dude Man Bro. If they're both on the same target, will just be a bit squishy for anyone physical on the side of the Eldritch Hounds. Oath isn't necessarily super far ahead himself. I know the conversation around Erlang Shen is feast or famine. Is he dominating or is he falling completely far behind? Being even when the rest of your team is ahead, though, about as good as being ahead of yourself. Is allowed to stick around in these engagements a little bit longer. Knows that if he's just going to blink initiate with 9 turns blessing, that there will be damage behind him as well. Should give over a bit of confidence to the Erlang Shen out of the jungle for the Eldritch Hounds. Keeping my eyes. Maybe this rotation path from Storm, that 3-stack in mid, had me slightly worried that they were going to be walking into a trap, but it seems to me that the Storm really are okay with just slowing down the pace.
Now, your thoughts on, remember, Oath got effectively 3 kills handed to him in game 1, right?
Yep.
Over in duo. Oh no, Joshy
Yep.
takes the Earthshaker and a River's Rebuke.
He's fine.
Gives Crimson a really good look. He's not going to be the one to finish the kill, though. Instead, it's Quig. And Oceans is going to drop to Oath, who walks right around mid-tier 1 tower. And this is now where it starts to get messy for the Storm. When you conveyor belt in, you've dropped a couple. Delnyyy will walk forward as well. Oath is going to get a double. So Crimson has 4 kills. How many of those do you think were handed to Crim in the same way that Oath had a few kills handed to him in game 1?
Well, in the same way, not the same. This one, if it goes to Crim, is about as handed over as it could be. Dude Man Bro, credit for this one. Rama just too far away, and here's the thing about Ducky. He's ahead, so it doesn't really matter that he's a late game Shiva. Should be able to walk in. Zen almost teleports into his own death there. Regardless, will survive as Ducky pushes them back, and the Eldritch Hounds continue to push back the Storm. Speed buff taken, tier 2. Gonna survive this time. It's just the Hounds taking him by a piecemeal. I mean, the Xibalba Storm, they may have all been in the same place on the map, but they were not once in that engagement playing as 5. Just Delnyyy goes in on his own, Dame does the same, Joshy does the same inside of his own tower, and slowly they all fall down. Before I'm even done breaking down the previous fight, it happens once more. Josh is caught out, Crimson credit for the kill, another one handed over. There you go, add that to the list.
Unfortunately for the Storm, we have seen these types of games from Hounds opponents before, and it's not a game that is often suddenly turned around.
How did Zen get here?
I don't know, but I know how he's going to get back to base. By backing, normally. That would have been my first guess for sure. It looks like Zen will make it back safely. But Dame was here to save the day. Dude Man Bro and Quig now can walk forward. Fields of Love Erupt. And Dude Man Bro
Nice.
with another. Yeah, but that one wasn't about Crimson, and I've now used the word erupt too many times.
Yep.
I'm a bad caster. God, this is just brutal. Brutal by Dave.
No, you're nuts, dude.
Yeah, every once in a while. No, I mean, look, these are the types of games that are not often turned around. The Eldritch Hounds are such a clean team. They're what? Nearly 10,000 gold ahead. 17-minute
17.
mark.
You must be doing the math wrong. Why would you even try and do it? Let Doug show you.
What? Well, it's 8.5. It's close to 10.
Yeah.
The experience is
You
disgusting.
strike me as
at
the
this
type
point
to
in the
round
game.
up.
I do. I was deciding how far in with that bit to go, and I decided to stop right where I'm at. Delnyyy will have to use the Lawbringer to get out, and this time Oath will not go for the Tier 2 tower dive, and it's the Fire Giant pull by the Eldritch Hounds. The Xibalba Storm are in dire straits here in Game 2. No answer back.
But this is what I'm talking about, man. The Storm are good at losing. They're getting something on the map while it's happening. Tier 1 on left, potentially a little bit more if Zen had any sort of items in
There's
his
got to
pocket.
be a better way to word that.
How did you say it? Yours was like 20 words.
I said they're good at maximizing the map when in a losing game state.
Yeah, man, they're so good at maximizing the map in a losing game state that it had been inflicted upon them by their opposition.
Oh.
Sure.
It's a nice little fearless from Delnyyy.
Uh-huh.
Doesn't mean anything, though. Quig is there for the heals.
Unless Dame?
Is close.
Unless?
I'm actually not convinced that Crimson wouldn't turn that around.
It's 3 levels up.
Yeah.
Oh.
It does a lot of damage to Delnyyy, who's super tanky.
I don't know about super tanky.
Compared to Dame.
He's got 30 Magic D.
Compared to Dame,
Yeah, I mean, he's got way more magic defense than Dame. That's for sure.
that is for sure. What do you think of this build, though, from Oath? I mean, you're stacking Stone-Cutting Sword with Executioner. Certainly not the first person to do it, but a bit different.
You're talking about the Oath build. We call that the Oath in the ranked queues.
That can't be true.
So how much rank you play.
I don't. That's why I got a few brain cells left here, Biff. That's a pull back in from Oceans. Oath has chased down Joshy and is solo diving a Phoenix. Should die for that, does. Dame gets the shutdown on Oath. That's a 5-kill shutdown. That's a decent little bit of gold for the Xibalba Storm.
Maybe some more?
But when the game disintegrates into Phoenix diving while the Tier 2 gets sieged, usually not a good indicator, and Ducky will split push happily on this level 20 Shiva at the 1950 mark, by the way. Pre-minute 20, level 20 for Ducky. And a couple of the Eldritch Hounds might get there as well.
I love that small play we had seen from Quig. Just throws the Bracer of Radiance over the wall, says, hey, Crim, if you're going to fight back, do it with this. Dame tries to hop on the horse, gets knocked off immediately, and knocked down as Crimson erupts one more time onto Dame.
Comedy comes in threes, man.
So I don't get another one?
That's the last erupt for the game.
I think you'll probably let one fly.
Now I have to, right? For the bit.
Might as well.
For the joke.
At this rate, Titanfall could be literally any second.
The mid lane Tier 2 erupts under the damage. That's how I choose to use it.
Gotta let it simmer. Gotta let it simmer a little more than that.
No, can't do it. I'm getting rid of it before I have to go back to it. This has been a masterclass from the Eldritch Hounds, the team. Where did this game really flip? There were, I think it was when Crimson was able to rotate out of mid and pick up 2 just totally random kills in the back.
Rotate out of mid 3 minutes late, it felt like. Joshy been in the fight the whole time, but this is what Joshy gets done when he's in the fight. He chose Persephone. I'm going to cook him for it. Don't do that. It's not a very good pick.
You think other picks are not 0-6?
Yeah, I mean, like, Yu Huang is just safe, so if you're worried about dying, that's fine. He also has a
Right,
better
might be
late
triple
game.
goose eggs, but at least.
Oh, hold on. What?
not
Oh,
the si-
oh.
that was,
Oh, it was a big auto.
that was a chunky auto. Zen erupts under the damage of Dude Man, bro.
That's 4.
That is 4.
Or 5.
Well, it comes in threes, right? So is it?
One more.
Do I need to go to 6 or 9?
Can't sit at 5.
3 pairs of 3? 3 trios of 3?
Yeah, that
I think it's a
9th
9.
erupt is really going to hit.
The crowd will erupt. I can hear it at Worlds now. Crimson makes it. And that's number 6 for you. On the left side, Phoenix will burn under the pressure of the Eldritch Hounds. This has simply been too clean. And the Xibalba Storm, luckily not a knockout match for the Xibalba Storm, but now in a double elimination bracket once again. That'll be beefy. As Erupt Crimson erupts Joshy back in the fountain.
7.
The Titan melting. Oh, a massive island pull as the island erupts from the earth.
8.
And up and over goes Delnyyy. And the Titan, the final eruption.
9.
Of game number 2, and it's the Eldritch Hounds with the 2-0 win in 22 minutes.
That was about as one-sided as it gets. All ironically post level 10 for Ducky, which we spent the first 4 minutes of the game breaking down. But
Yeah, but Ducky post level 10 split push.
I'm not certain that
That's all he
Ducky
had to do.
needed to be in that game. If I'm being completely honest, he didn't do anything except for stand in the lane.
Split push.
He grabbed that tier 2. You're right. You're right. While Oath was solo diving a Phoenix versus 5.
So I'm not saying your analysis was apt and it was spot on. It just didn't matter that he fell off post level 10. The rest of the Eldritch Hounds were simply too strong. This is what you expect from the #1 North American SCC team. They move themselves one step closer to the group stages of Worlds. It's a clean 2-0 win for the Hounds. That's it for Miff and I. We'll go back to the desk to break it down.
Well, sometimes, Trelly, the other team's just better. And that's what happened there in that game. The Hounds came out. They just played better in game number 2. And there were a couple moments. But as you can see by the end of it, based on Dave and Miff, not a lot of opportunity to fight back into that.
Yeah, it didn't seem like the Xibalba Storm really had a leg to stand on in that one. And
No. Definitely not in any of the rules.
yeah,
I was going to call someone out, but instead I won't.
just call them all out.
Yeah.
Or instead of bringing down the Storm, we can raise up the Hounds.
The Hounds did play really well.
Because they all played really well, but that's what we're used to at this point. So every time we break down a Hounds game, it's usually like, man, that was clean from everyone. It didn't seem like the other team had a chance. They did a couple good things right, and blah, blah, blah. Like that's usually how it breaks down, and I think nothing different this time around. I don't think Joshy did himself any favors by picking the Persephone. When you know you're in a matchup where you're probably going to be getting dove, that is never the pick. She's got to jump, and that's pretty much it. So there's just a lot of dive the Hounds had to capitalize on that. And it just didn't seem like Erupt Crimson was missing. I mean, the Erupt jokes were coming for a reason. Dave and Miff were checking it out as well. This Vulcan pick, it just seems like Crim keeps going back to it for a reason.
And if you're going to let him have it, might as well, right? I mean, hey, has showcased time and time again that he is insanely good at the Vulcan. And so people keep letting him have the opportunity to showcase that he is, in fact, insanely good at the Vulcan. And just too many moments, kind of like that one, where maybe things could go well, and then they are just immediately demolished by the Hounds. Beautiful ult at the very end. I mean, call that game what it is, a montage for the Hounds, 7-1-6 for Crimson, 5-1-6 for Oath. Just good play.
Unfortunate for Ducky. Ducky didn't get to play too much.
Yeah, what was it they said? That after level 10, like honestly, even maybe pre-level 10, Ducky wasn't fully necessary to be in the game. But that's because of Ducky, more because the rest of the team was just doing so well.
And that's a good problem to have. You know, my team is winning so hard that I can't even rotate out. Like,
I don't get to do anything because they're winning too fast.
And I think Ducky's fine with that. You know, he picked the Shiva. He was able to coast through. He said, wait, Crimson did 30,000 damage, and his opposition did 9,000? Yeah, I think I'm pretty happy with not having to dive that Persephone myself.
He did 3 times more damage. Like, he's more than okay with that. Like, if you're mid laner, if you ever hit a point where you've done 3 times more damage than your counterpart, for the most part, this is a very big blanket statement, so there's definitely exceptions, but for the most part, you've kind of done what you need to do. There's definitely some other things in there that maybe need to be tackled. But for the Hounds, this is good news. A nice 2-0 means that when we take a look at the bracket, they are sitting 1 win away from the SWC group stages. The Storm will not only have to win match 13, but also win match 15. That is going to be difficult. We'll find out who their immediate opponent will be, and then we'll be able to see between the Hounds and then whoever ends up winning this, who their opponent could be for match 15. That'll be tomorrow. Trelly, a lot of pressure on them now, because if you're where the Storm are, that is a do-or-die spot, right? That is an elimination game through and through. Whereas if you're the Hounds, you get to coast on forward, and if you're the Sages and the Wardens, you still have both the wins ahead of you that you would need to get to the group stages, but still both your losses available to you as well. It is going to be a strong matchup, though. The 2nd seed versus the 4th seed coming into this. The Hounds, we've seen, though, in their bracket on the way here, definitely some more struggles
Yeah.
than some of the others. The Sages, though, not the cleanest full path either. So definitely up in the air as to where this one could go.
Yeah, I think just because of the fact that the Storm lost this matchup, I doubt that's hanging on their head too much. I don't want to say they came into that matchup thinking they were going to win, but they had to have some, semblance of an idea that wasn't going to go in their favor, and because it didn't, I imagine not holding on their mental too long, they'll just sit there and wait, and when they'll figure out, they'll be ready when they figure out who they're going to be playing up next.
I think everybody goes into the Hounds matchup just like you said. Like, you're not necessarily expecting to lose, you're not expecting to win, you're just hoping for the best.
Yeah.
And sometimes that is the best you're going to get. It's a team that is just so difficult to beat, as the Hounds have proven over and over again. But they advance forward. We're going to be going into the Sages and the Wardens right after a quick break, so grab your drinks, grab your snacks. We'll be right back.